Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for part two and the conclusion of our seller financing training. Now, if you've missed part one, no problem. You can go to your REI Pro dashboard and click on the Education Center, or you can go directly to my YouTube channel and watch it. Now, this is going to be a very special training because not only are we going to finish those 10 executable steps, I'm going to teach you how to use this strategy with people in pre-foreclosure. This is that strategy, and it's a very niche business, one that not many people actually know how to do, but it's also one of those businesses that is very rewarding. When you can take this knowledge and go out and help other people, you can see just how rewarding this business can be. It's not always about making money, though, and heck, I've even done deals where I've made less money on a deal just because I knew how to help people. Now, if this is your first time, I'm glad you're here. My name is Chris Goff. I'm the owner of REI and Me. A lot of you people are familiar with that. I'm also the co-founder of our REI Pro investor software. I know many of you on here are a subscriber of that, and co-founder of our local investment group. That's right, we do a lot of deals. Our local business has just taken off, and it's been pretty awesome. Reside in Peachtree City, Georgia. Husband, father of three. Actually grew up in Northern Virginia. That's where I started my career. When I was a kid, my dream job was to work on airplanes. So I went to school, did all the right things, got a degree, went and got my license, landed that dream job with United Airlines. And I was there about in a year. And I realized, although that was my dream job as a kid, that was not my dream salary as an adult. And I started looking into this real estate stuff, and I saw a Carlton Sheets commercial and ordered the product, went through the program, had no idea what in the world any of it meant, didn't know how to get started, but there was something in my heart. I was just passionate about it, and I knew other people were doing it. And just, I figured, man, if I could just get that one deal, it could totally change everything. And I eventually quit my job, put my 2-week notice in. My mom, she freaked out, about had a heart attack. Here I had a nice job, all the benefits, the whole 9 yards basically, and I just quit to do something I haven't done yet. So started that in 1998 and then went full-time in 1999. It's amazing how time just flies by. Really involved in the creative real estate side. That's kind of my niche business, although we do work all 5 real estate investment strategies. I'm a 2-time best-selling author, coach, and mentor, national real estate marketing expert, and a featured guest on the Brian Tracy TV show. Brian Tracy was a book that I bought, actually my second book that I bought after the Carlton Sheets program, and I realized if I'm actually going to use this vehicle of real estate, I needed to change the way that I was thinking about things. And I do believe this book really did help. And to meet him in person was a dream come true. There's our Nothing But Net. That was the first book we did. You could download a digital version of that at reime.com. There I am receiving a best-selling author award in Hollywood, California on the red carpet. And to the right there is a picture of me, my wife, and a very famous author. Many of you probably know Jack Canfield, that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. There's Brian Tracy, and it was a very honor to meet him and actually be interviewed by him. And what a nice guy, what a great guy. I totally encourage anyone out there to purchase any one of his books. He's really good at what he does. He's sold hundreds of millions of books. If you've never heard of him before, you could just Google him. What a wonderful guy. And very lucky to actually co-author a book with him. And it's called Uncommon, where we talk about a little bit of the lease option strategy, how common it is to be in real estate, but maybe one of those unconventional strategies that we use as investors. You can also download the digital version at myreipro.com. We do encourage you guys to go out to Amazon and purchase the book. We donate all of the proceeds to a children's charity. So not only will you have a great book, you'll be putting your money towards a very good cause at the same time. there's me and Bo. A lot of you know who Bo Mannery is. Also the other 50% of our REI Pro investor software, as well as our local investment. Very honored to have a 4-time Emmy Award-winning director just came in and filmed a documentary on us on how we came together from a real estate side and from an online marketing programming side to build such a phenomenal tool that many of you are using right now, which is REI Pro. And super excited to get this movie out this summer. So can't wait. So, all right, here's the 10 executable steps. This is what I talk about. This is what I teach. It's all about this. It's understanding the physical things you have to do in a very specific order in order to close deals. And this is something that took years to figure out. I know it looks so simple when I put it on paper, but this took about 11 years to figure out how to do this. And although we do this as investors and have done it for years, it was difficult to actually put it on paper. You know, how many investors have you talked to and you're like, hey, can you teach me how to do that? And you're like, well, I don't know, you just do this. You know, there's really no educational platform that walks you through these executable steps, but it's something we all do. It's almost like, how do you teach your child how to ride a bike, but you couldn't say anything, you had to write it on paper. You know, it might be a little difficult, and that's how it felt when I did this. And soon as I did this, people really started to attach. We built such a large following across the US, and people said that makes sense. And well, it should. That's what we do. So in part 1, what we talked about was steps 1 through 4. And we're going to recap that in just a second. But I do want to make people aware, if you're not a current REI Pro subscriber, to get your 30-day free trial right now, because a lot of my teachings, we're actually going to be going through the software as I'm teaching you. So I'm going to teach you and then show you what this phenomenal tool is going to do for your business. So you can get a 30-day free trial at myreipro.com. It's your complete CRM, lead generation, direct mail, in-house printing, and our executable step system that walks you through each and every step, which we're going to talk about tonight, steps 5 all the way through 10. So we're going to be talking about contracts, the affidavit, how do we find the buyers? And I'm also going to share with you guys how to utilize this strategy. You know, it's one thing about talking about it, right? So I want to actually show you a pre-foreclosure deal that we did and how we utilized this strategy and made a lot of money, and at the same time really helped out a very, very awesome family. All right, so just to quickly recap, part 1, we talked about lead generation. You know, where do we find deals? You know, and there's so many places that you can find deals, from driving around. We obviously recommend Lead Pro, which is inside of our REI Pro software, which pulls a nationwide list of so many things, from pre-foreclosures to auction properties to absentee owners, from high equity landlords, cash buyers, and so forth. It's all about finding deals. And what I tell all my coaching students, you should be spending 90% of your time on lead generation. I know a lot of people that, you know, just are getting started. Their biggest fear usually is the buyers. And that's the least fear that we have. Lead generation is really the key. And I'm talking across the board. And there may be some of you that are like, Chris, I've got these deals left and right. I'm looking for the buyers. I'm just talking generally speaking. Lead generation should be where you're going to spend most of your time. Then we talked about, once we find the deal, we need to contact the owner. We went through very specific questions in the REI Pro software on exactly how to qualify these leads, so you're not wasting your time looking at properties you shouldn't be looking at. We then moved into step 3, which was property inspection. Didn't spend a lot of time here. I think it's something that, you know, the more you do, the more aware, and pricing, it's just so all over the board. I mean, you can't even buy a bathroom in Los Angeles for $100,000, but you could go to Bryan, Texas and buy 2 houses for $100,000. So it's obviously different costs throughout the area, but we do provide a platform for that inside REI Pro. And then we talked about making offers. It's not just about making one offer. It was about making multiple offers. And generally, I'll go in and make a cash offer. I'll make a lease option offer. I'll make a seller finance offer. In part 1, we actually talked about making multiple seller finance offers. And what I love about it, and what you're going to see, is the more offers that you present, your acceptance ratio is going to go up. It just makes sense. Sellers are, they have options now. And this is one part of our business where we were doing 1 or 2 deals a month and now doing 5 to 7. It's because of the multiple offers. I get it. The seller says, all I want is to cash out. Totally get it. That doesn't mean that's what they're going to take. All your job is, here are the numbers. This is what I can do. Here's how I can buy your property. And throw those numbers out there. There's countless deals that we've done where the seller said one thing and then they took a different offer. Okay, so you don't know if you don't make it, and what in the world is it going to hurt for you to make it anyways, right? You just never know. All right, so what I want to do, and we're going to get through these steps, but I'm going to teach it a little bit different this time. What I'm going to do is take those final steps and actually implement it into a real property that we did, and that's by working with somebody in pre-foreclosure. I'm going to teach you just a little bit about the pre-foreclosure business, that I'm going to walk through those steps with you and exactly how we did it. I'm going to show you some before and after pictures, what did I say to the owner, how did I find the deal, how did I even put it under contract, and what kind of contract did I even use? So we're going to talk about that by actually going through a real property. And what I love about teaching it this way is that it makes sense because it relates to something. It's not just a bunch of theory and, here's the definition of this. It's actually walking you through a real property, which I love. So I want you to just kind of keep an open mind. Just think of pre-foreclosure. So this is somebody that has not been able to make some payments, and there's lots of reasons why this happens, from losing your job or a divorce situation or a health issue, or just a lot of different reasons out there. But for some reason, the homeowner is unable to make those monthly payments, and this has gone on for typically around 3 months before a bank will actually take suit against that particular person. And now the foreclosure process is going to start. And a lot of people, would go to what's called a short sale, or they'd wait for the property to go to auction, or even all the way past the auction, which would be a bank-owned or an REO. What I'm talking about is utilizing this strategy before all that, okay? And that's where the deal really happens. So what are some of these foreclosure attitudes? And they're going to be all across the board when you're finding, and I'm going to teach you how to find these leads, but they're in denial, right? So some people you come across, there's like, no, I'm not in trouble. And well, the county recorder's office says you are. Here's the trustee information. Here's the attorney handling the case. And unfortunately, they're just in denial. It's obviously very embarrassing to go through a situation like this, and they don't want to talk about it. And then you're going to have the opposite end of that. They could be extremely happy that you're there, and hey, this is a possible solution. I don't want you to look at this pre-foreclosure business as like you're a consultant. We are literally going in and buying the house. Because of buying the property, which I'm going to show you how to do, is what's helping them, okay, which is going to stop the foreclosure and all these good things. So obviously you're going to run into a lot of different attitudes out there, and obviously you got to be a people person, understand their story and things like that. So what can somebody do that's facing this pre-foreclosure situation? And obviously they could try to sell their home, and a lot of people would list it with a realtor and try to sell the house. There is potential equity in the home, and they just want to cash out to stop the foreclosure, and that's a great idea. And then there's some people that just don't have equity in the property, which you're really not going to be able to sell. They could bring the loan current, so whatever monthly payments they're behind plus penalties, they could actually, win the lottery and make up those payments. That's usually what would happen. They could make a plan with their bank. A lot of times homeowners will call the bank, and banks will extend auction dates. They'll work with you. Trust me, they do not want the house back, period. And they can obviously talk to you. And I'm going to show you this part of it, because this is where you really fit in. This is a much needed service in the economy right now, and not many people really know how to do this. So what are some of the behaviors? What do they usually do? right? They usually do nothing. This is why every property that is bank owned right now used to be in pre-foreclosure, right? Every house that went to auction used to be in pre-foreclosure. Every house that's on a short sale is in pre-foreclosure. So a lot of people they wait till the last minute. They think, it's almost like they're ignoring it and then it's too late. They continually to sink. They keep quiet. It's not like they're going to go across the street, tell their neighbor, hey, I'm in trouble. Can't make my payments. Just wanted to let you know, right? So they keep quiet. And that's where, marketing is really going to be really the key piece here. And I'm going to show you how to find the leads and then market them as well. So your role as an investor is pretty simple here, is to help them. Here's how you help somebody in pre-foreclosure. You buy the house. We're going to acquire the property using the seller finance strategy. You obviously could go to the bank and just get financing or use a private investor to fund the deal, especially if there's a ton of equity, but that also costs money. I'm going to show you how to do this. And again, you will need some money for back payment purposes, but we're going to be able to cut down the cost or cash out of your pocket by just utilizing this strategy. We're going to give them options, build trust. Obviously, it's all about trust. We were always told nobody's ever going to buy anything from you until they buy you first, right? Understand their story. It's all about building a relationship. And I think, building a relationship is really the key in any strategy, but especially this one. This sometimes is hard to talk about. And your goal is to construct a win-win deal. This isn't always about you. This business isn't always about making that extra dollar. Sometimes you just need to help other people. And I promise you, if you just have that attitude, what do you think the seller's going to say to other people? And next thing you know, now you've got calls from other sellers and you have no idea where they're coming in. So it's always about helping them out. Talking pointers, speak at their pace, let them finish talking before you ask another question, never interrupt. Always ask what they want, but keep in mind, anybody that's in this situation cannot stay in the house, period. We're not working out a plan for the homeowner to stay in the house. We are buying the house, and then we're going to do something with it. We could fix it up. We could resell it. There's a lot of different things we can do with it. Okay, there's a few things that you're going to have to get from the owner. Number one is the payoff statement. What do they actually, it doesn't matter what the homeowner says. It's all about what the bank says. And the only way to do that is to get a payoff statement. You could have the owner request that payoff statement. You could get authorization to negotiate and call the bank yourself to get the payoff statement. We also need the back payment amount. How far are they behind in monthly payments? And on top of that, what are the penalties included in that? And then what is their total monthly payment? So we have some basic information that we're going to need to get in order to determine, is this a deal or not? So let me just walk you through a real deal. And I think this is going to start connecting the dots for most of you here, because going through this real deal, and this is real life. This isn't something somebody puts in a PowerPoint presentation and talks about. This is a real life situation that we went through. So one of the first things is, and step one is lead generation. We have to find the deal, right? So one of the best ways to do that is to use the REI Pro software, which we have what's called Lead Pro inside of REI Pro. And this is where we're going to be able to find people that are in pre-foreclosure. And I'm going to show you how to do that when we get to the software. But we have to find the deal. So how we found this particular deal is it was actually listed on the MLS as a short sale. Now, a short sale is nothing more than a bank willing to sell the property for less than what is owed, because obviously it's depreciated, they bought at the wrong time, and the bank is basically taking their loss up front. And they want to do this because they could be sitting on the property till auction. Then if nobody buys it at auction, they win the bid because that's the starting minimum bid. Then it could sit as a bank-owned property for a year or two. Instead of waiting that long and having this property, this liability on their books, which they wouldn't be able to loan out more money because of it, they are willing to take the loss up front. That's what a short sale is. So we found this property in short sale and did some investigating, ran some numbers, looked at mortgage amounts using REI Pro, and guess what? Actually has equity. And this particular property just happened to be in a subdivision that I lived in at the time, and outside of Austin, Texas. And this is a gated community. This is a 2 Jack Nicklaus golf course community. It's very nice. And here we have this distressed property. As you can see, the bushes, the trees are overgrown, and the property was vacant. So I found the realtor that had it listed, and I called the realtor, and this is how it went down. So I called the realtor, and I said, "Hey, my name is Chris. I was inquiring about this property I saw as a short sale. Could you meet me over at the property? I wanted to talk to you about it and obviously look at it." She said, "Well, why do you want to do that?" Just to talk to you about the situation, because obviously I can pull information using REI Pro that she can't as a realtor. And she was very uncomfortable. She's like, "Well, how about if we just meet at the office? Do you have a realtor? Are you working with a realtor?" "Yes, I have a realtor. I can go look at the house, but I wanted to talk to you about the situation." "Well, how about if we meet at the office?" So it was a Keller Williams agent. So we go to the office, me and my broker. And I remember this day so well. I sat across the table from her, and she's telling me about the property. The homeowners had left, and the property was sitting vacant. It does need some updating, some work, but the bank's willing to do a short sale. And I said, "Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because, by definition, a short sale is they're upside down. And this particular property actually has equity in it. So I'm just wondering why you're labeling it as a short sale." And it was funny because when I went into the room, she gave me her business card, and it said on there she's a short sale expert, right? So I'm like, okay, but here's the thing. This is what I want to do. I want to make up the back payments on the property, have the owner deed me the house. I'm going to fix up the property, and I'm going to put it back on the market. To me, that's the right thing to do. Okay, I want you to me, that was the right thing to do. Because if this realtor sold the property on a short sale, this would affect their credit for 2 years. If they actually went through foreclosure, it could affect their credit up to 7 to 10 years. Why would you put somebody's credit at jeopardy when I can create a solution right now that's going to save their credit? Well, of course, realtors are not trained to do that. Otherwise, they'd be doing it, right? So that's all they know how to do in this particular situation. You either sell it cheap, or it's a short sale, or something like that. And when I told her, I said, "Look, this is the right thing to do." She looked at me and she said, "Chris, why aren't there more people like you out there? Let me call the owner." So of course the realtor calls the owner. And what do you think the owner says? Let's see. "My credit could be damaged for 2 years, or that could stop the foreclosure by working with this guy, Chris." It's kind of a no-brainer here. So what happened was the realtor called me back. She felt so bad that she said, "Chris, I'm just going to walk away from the deal. I'm going to let you and the homeowner work together." Because she would have received a commission, and I had to account for that commission. And she felt so bad, she just literally walked away, and she said, "I'm going to leave it up to you," type of thing. So our goal, number one, is to stop the foreclosure, right? And the only way to do that, well, there's 2 ways. The first way is to make up the back payments, which will bring the loan current, so that'll stop the foreclosure. Or number 2, you just buy the house. Our goal is to fix up the home and then sell the home at a retail price, and then get a testimonial. I think a lot of people forget about this part. You want more testimonials so you can tell other people that are in the same situation, "Hey, look, I was able to help Bob, Mary, and Suzanne over here." Okay, so make sure you get a testimonial. So step 2, again, part of this will be a recap, is contact the owner. Obviously, we're doing our due diligence. We already know they're motivated. They're in a stressful situation. They're behind on payments. It's listed as a short sale. They're ready to move forward. So some of the main questions, I needed to get the back payment amount. What was that total dollar amount? What is the loan balance? What are the monthly payments? What's the interest rate? Are the taxes paid? You think about someone that, may not be making their payments, and not every property, the tax and insurance is included in the mortgage. I have several properties that are not included in the mortgage. And so you just want to verify any other other liens and stuff like that that may be attached to the property, because these are going to be expenses that you're going to incur if they deed the property over to you, which in this case they did. So I walked through the property, and we're pretty good at the rehab side of it. And we had a repair estimate of 15 grand. The home was generally in really good shape. It just needed a lot of updating. And there's some really cool things I'm going to show you that you could do to a property that doesn't cost a fortune to make it look like a fortune as well. So we made basically a punch list of things that we wanted to do to the property. I'm going to show you what's called overlaying the floors. We needed new cabinet doors. They were all bad. A lot of water damage to them. You can see them starting to bubble. We needed to get all new doors. The cabinets in general were in good shape. It's just the doors. We needed to do some paint. Needed a new front door, dishwasher, stove top, garage paint the floors, patch a couple holes, cut down 10 trees. We needed some sod. They had 2 big dogs that just tore up the backyard. New carpet upstairs, some light fixtures outside, and so forth. So basically what we're doing here is we're making a punch list of the general big ticket items that we needed to do to it. And as we started to work the project, of course, things will come up as you're rehabbing it. So here's some before pictures. Just generally, you can see the big white tile floors. Now, there was absolutely nothing wrong with any of these floors. The problem is that there were big white tile floors. It felt like you're walking into a hospital, and this is a very nice neighborhood. This was kind of the thing back in the day, and we really needed to enhance the floor. So we knew that was going to be a major taking right there. Then you can see our 2 boys. They actually do work. We put them to work, and they don't get paid. So they're kind of being brought up into this business. And there's one of our contractors replacing the doors. And then picture the backyard, kind of hard to see it, but you just see there's just dirt. The trees are overgrown. It's pretty bad. So step 4, again, we needed to run the numbers, needed to make sure that, hey, if we could potentially sell it for this and we have all these expenses, here's the loan balance, including the plus the back payments, are we going to be able to make this deal work? And that's where you could use the REI Pro software to calculate where you need to be. So we found out that the loan balance was $332,000. They owed $17,000 in back payments. There was back payments on HOA dues, which was $5,700. Attorney fees for $500 to draw up the paperwork for me, and the repair estimate 15 grand. And when you total those big numbers, I call them, came up to 370. I looked at the ARV, which was 479. Is there room to profit? And give and take, are there going to be some holding expenses and stuff like that? I'm just looking at big numbers at this point just to evaluate, is this worth pursuing? And in this case, obviously there's equity in the property. We can make this deal work. So we had the attorney drop the appropriate documents, and then we sent them overnight to the owner. The owners then signed the documents, had them notarized, sent them back. Of course, we signed those. And a couple of things that I wanted to do was, the first thing I didn't want to do was actually pay the HOA. What I wanted to do with that $5,700 is to use that as part of my rehab cost. And then when I resold it, I would then pay off the HOA. So what I did in this particular case is, we had all the paperwork signed. I personally went down to the recorder's office and filed all the paperwork myself. It was about $125. Now, why would I do that? Well, I did that because I didn't want to pay the HOA dues. Now, of course, you want to do a basic title search, which we talked about already. Want to make sure that all the liens associated with the property, does it even have good title? We want to double check all that with a title company, or in some states, a real estate attorney that will then do a title search. Some things to also factor in are filing fees, unexpected repairs. If I'm going to use a realtor to sell the property, Selling costs, closing costs, potential profits, insurance for the home, and as well as utilities for the home. These are going to be other costs that we'll need to think about. So step 5 was to actually put under contract, like I said we did. And I want to just kind of talk a little bit about how we do contracts with seller financing. It's irrelevant if they're in pre-foreclosure or not. It's seller financing is the strategy. Anytime that you do a seller finance deal, you want to have an attorney do all the paperwork. There's a lot of different documents that go along with this, and especially if you're in a pre-foreclosure, I'm basically taking over the loan without actually qualifying, which they potentially break the due on sale clause, which we talked about in part 1 and how that's all handled. So always have a real estate attorney do it. There's obviously the MLO licensing thing now if you do X amount, depending if it's your property or not. And like I said in part 1, we're not going to talk about all the specific state requirements or federal laws. Those are things that obviously my attorneys already know how to do, handle those situations. The last thing you want to do as an investor is to actually learn how to do these particular contracts. It's not your job. What is your job? Go find deals, make offers. Okay, put buyers in properties and so forth. And we're going to keep doing that. That's what real estate attorneys are for. That's why they're there. You need to find one if you don't have one already. When you do find one, here's a few questions that you need to ask them, because so how do you qualify an actual attorney? And I promise you, there are a lot of attorneys that are clueless about how to do this. So we need to find the people that actually know what we're talking about. So the very first question I would ask is, have you ever done work like this before? Have you ever worked with seller financing or worked with somebody in pre-foreclosure and doing the contracts around that? Obviously, if they haven't, they may not be somebody you want to use. So regardless if they can go figure it out or not, just for them to take the time to go figure it out, they're going to charge you for it, right? What are the costs associated with this kind of transaction? Time frame, how long it's going to take? Because keep in mind, when we're working with pre-foreclosures, we need time is of the essence. We need to run with this, okay? Do they do real estate closings? I prefer to close my transactions with an actual attorney over a title company per se, although an attorney does draw up the deeds and so forth for the title company. I want to have that personal relationship with the attorney because sometimes these deals get pretty creative. We talked about there's over 30 ways to sell or finance a house. So sometimes we can get very creative and people are just going to be absolutely clueless what you're talking about. You think about just a general title company, 99% of the transactions that happen at a title company involve a realtor and a bank, and it's just a conventional type of loan. It's a normal closing. When you bring in a creative deal like this, most people are not going to have a clue what you're talking about. And that's where I want you to have that connection with the attorney. Maybe you think you can't get popular or you can't get rich on what's popular, right? So you have to be doing niche businesses like this because this is where the real money is. All right, agreement you'll need, not limited to. Obviously, we need to have a purchase sale agreement for the property in general. You could get authorization to release information, deed of trust, mortgage to secure it, general warranty deed, special warranty deed, something like that. A note secured by a wraparound mortgage. There's a seller disclosure sheet. If it's in an HOA, you would have to get the HOA documents and put that in there. Notice of conveyance, property encumbered by a lien, closing agreement, due on sale, acknowledgement. There's a lot of pieces here, and the last thing I want you to do is think that you're going to take the time to figure all this out. Okay, that's what the attorney is there for. It's not your job to understand all of these components. You just need to understand that you need an attorney to do the deal. If I go into an attorney's office and say, Chris, I don't think you can do this, I have the wrong guy. Okay, this happens every single day. Okay, what we do. And I don't expect everybody to really understand this part of the business. If they understood this part of the business, guess what? They'd be doing it. Then you guys heard of subject twos. A lot of people, investors out there, they call it sub two. Sub two is number one is not a strategy. It's actually a sentence. And the definition is when transferring title to a property encumbered by a mortgage lien without paying it off or assuming the note, buyers taking it subject to. It's in every HUD-1 settlement statement. You are basically promising to the owner that you're going to pay the existing financing, because do I want to pay the seller so the seller then pays the mortgage company? Absolutely not, right? I mean, if they weren't paying the mortgage before, why in the world would they pay it now? So that's where we're going to actually start making those payments to there. Now, why would I want to continually make payments? Well, if I'm like making payments, I'm going to lose the deal. And if I've made up the back payments, I've got invested interest in the deal. Of course, I need to make those payments because I want to make money. Step 6 is what we call the affidavit. I'm going to show you. We actually have this in the software. You just print it out. But an affidavit clouds the title, protects the investor. So if the seller were to ever try to go around your back and sell the property before you close on it, that would be bad, right? So what we're doing with this affidavit is a sworn statement that I, Chris Goff, promise to the world that I have a contract to purchase on this property. If you need any information, here's my name, my number, my mailing address. You get it notarized, and then you just file the paperwork. So if for some reason a seller, and this is for any kind of strategy here, if a seller ever tried to go around your back and sell to someone else, maybe another investor willing to pay more money before you actually close on it, they're going to most likely do a title search. And guess what's going to come up in the title search? This affidavit. And the title company is going to stop the closing. And obviously, that would be a breach of contract. You could sue the seller if they ever did go around your back, but how many people are actually going to do that, right? This is a protection step, right? So we want to keep protected, especially the last thing you want to do. Well, number one, how do you think I even know about this, right? Because it happened to me years ago. So this is just a precautionary step that we like for you to do. Now, what are we going to do? So here's the situation. So the seller is behind on payments, $17,000. We're going to actually write a check out for 17 grand. So if you don't have the 17 grand, okay, where do I get the 17 grand? Private investor, credit card, something. I'm going to send that check to either the bank itself or the actual attorney, which all that information is going to be disclosed in REI Pro through the foreclosure details. Obviously, the bank can tell you where to send the check. And as soon as I send that check, of course, foreclosure stops. The loan is now current. Then what happens is, of course, I own the property. I'm not going to send the check until we actually sign all the paperwork and the deed has transferred to my name. Now I'm going to rehab the house. What could I do with this property at this point? Well, our goal was to actually just be done, cash out. I'm actually going to sell the property. Keep in mind, I own the property. Whoever has the deed owns the property. The loan is still in the previous owner's name. And here I'm selling it to a new buyer. The new buyer goes to closing with me. What happens is they cash me out, which ultimately cashes the first lien on the property, which is the original mortgage on the property. Everybody's happy. And just think of how many people I just helped out in that transaction. Did I help the bank out? Yeah, stop the foreclosure and actually eventually cash the loan out. Did I help the owner? Yeah, stop foreclosure, not on his credit report, right? Did I help the neighbors? Think about the neighbors, how this house was depreciating because of the condition of the property, which could depreciate this. What about the contractors that I used to actually rehab the house? Or how about the attorney that drew up the paperwork, the closing? You affect so many people when you have the knowledge to go out and do these transactions, okay? We could turn around and sell or finance it back out, right? So let's say, hey, I didn't need to cash out. I'll just keep making payments on it and I'll make money by seller financing it back out. You could do that. You could lease option it. You could just rent it. You could move into the property. You have options because you own the house. You have the deed. All right, you ready for some final pictures? Now, before I show you the final pictures, I wanted to tell you a part of the story that happened here, and that was we decided, as you start to rehab properties, you start to say, we really need to get this done too. So one of the things that we wanted to get done that we originally did not calculate was we wanted to paint the outside of the house. Well, guess what? You have to have HOA approval to get a new color of paint. Well, here we just filed the paperwork ourselves. We didn't pay off the HOA lien. And now I've got to go to the HOA and get approval to change the paint color. So what do? We went down to the grocery store and we bought one of those very big chocolate chip cookies, called the HOA lady and said, can we come talk to you? And she said, sure. So we walk in her office, and it's one of those offices that none of the offices actually had doors on them. So everybody could kind of hear what's going on, right? So we walk in her office, we sit down and said, hey, Mr. Goff, we just bought the house over at 6 Monarch Oaks, blah, 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 right? She's like, you're the people that bought that house? Yeah, we bought the house. She goes, I've been driving by and looking in the windows. Man, it is looking really good. I was like, thanks, we're getting there. We're getting ready to sell it. And she goes, well, the attorneys called and they can't figure out how in the world did you buy the house and not pay off the lien? It's like, well, that's just, we're pretty knowledgeable about what we're doing. It's no big deal. Actually, what I wanted to do, that's why I wanted to come here, is I wanted to fix up the property. And then as soon as I sell it to a new buyer, we're going to cash that debt out. She goes, I don't really care. I'm just so happy that you guys are actually fixing it up. Do you know how many complaints people have called in and complained about that property? I'm just so happy. I said, well, that's why we're here. We want to change the color of the outside. And she goes, approved. I was like, all right, we're approved. She goes, if you want it, no problem. I don't even care what color it is. See the work you guys are doing. It probably is just going to enhance it. I was like, yeah, absolutely. It's going to look really good. And so I started to stand up and she goes, Chris, she was like whispering to me. And I said, what? She wrote down, she flipped her business card over where it was blank, and she started to write down a message, and she handed me her business card, and she said, hey, this property's giving me problems too. She just gave me another lead, right? So I was like, thanks. So I was worried about we couldn't get the paint color changed, and this would affect the inside and all kinds of stuff. And here we just walked in, got approved, didn't even show the paint color. And on top of that, she gave me another lead, right? So it was perfect. All right, so let me show you some final pictures here. So this is final pictures, start from the outside, really got this property cleaned up. And I remember, keep in mind, this property was vacant. I never met the owner. All the paperwork was done through FedEx. And I was standing in the front door as we were rehabbing the house, and a car pulls in the driveway here. A gentleman gets out, a lady gets out, and the guy starts walking up to the door, and he said, are you Chris Goff? And I said, yes. He goes, well, hi, my name's Steve. This was the owner. He actually flew back in. They have a lot of friends. I'd never met the guy, so I had no idea what he looked like. And he walked up to me. He gave me a hug. And he looked at me and he said, I remember this. This is what this business is all about. He looked at me and he said, Chris, you have no idea what you just did for me and my family. I tell you, that hits you, right? That you're doing the right thing. You're taking the knowledge. You're not doing something bad with it. You're actually doing good with it. And in the process, you're helping a ton of people. That's why I do this business. And it's just such a rewarding feeling when people do that. And of course, he gave a testimonial. He said, there's only one thing that I request. He said, I've got 2 daughters and there's 2 bedrooms upstairs. That was their bedrooms. And we put these special light fixtures. He said, is there any way that I could get those? And I said, we'll even ship them to you, right? I mean, I was going to change out. They were like 2 pink light fixtures. I would have never have had that in the house anyways. We would have just probably have gave it away or thrown it away. And here, that's all he wanted, right? So as you walk in, remember those white tiled floors? We actually did what's called a concrete overlay, so staining the concrete. and it gives it such a rich look, because keep in mind, this is an expensive neighborhood, and we're reaching a very specific type of buyer. So went in, changed the colors. We actually got all the paint we got for free. Okay, so there are places out there, and I'm not going to go into detail where all these places are as far as rehabs, but you can find really, really great stuff out there at bargain prices, and even brand new stuff that you can use for these rehabs. This was the only room we didn't do anything to. I didn't prefer this particular color, but it's kind of a common color. People use this. We never use it in a rehab. But everything was in really good shape in this room. We didn't do anything. So as we move into kind of the dining area, the living room area, you can see the light fixture there. We bought that. It was brand new. Bought that for $60. We did some basic staging, very minimal staging here. Of course, everything's redone, paint, floors, just really gorgeous look in here. Big windows, just beautiful home. Kind of walk up into the kitchen. There's another light fixture. We got that for $40. These are brand new. And then we went in and redid all the kitchen cabinets. We did eventually put some hardware on here. I took the pictures a little bit early. And the only thing, now we didn't replace the microwave stove area. It's kind of it was just such an added cost. We were really trying to keep our budgets down here. And we originally thought we were going to replace this cooktop on this island because it's cracked. But instead of actually replacing it, we were going to use this to our advantage in our marketing, which I'm going to show you the ad and what we did with this, and how we turned this. We kept the broken stovetop in there for a reason. I know that may sound strange, but there's a very specific reason why we did this. I'll show you in a second. Went into the bathrooms, redid the floors in the bathrooms, upstairs, game area, just all new carpet, paint, master bedroom. Now, a lot of you that are just getting started, you see the bed in the picture. You know why you never sit on a bed when the house is staged? Because those are cardboard boxes, okay, with an air mattress on it. So how do you think we learned that tip? Okay, so you want to keep this very simple. You wouldn't bring in a whole bed to stage this, okay? There's the master bath. We redid the floors, actually redid these cabinets too. These were worn out and messed up. This is the balcony off the master. It's just a beautiful area, beautiful scenery right off the master. It was very, very large too. So this is the back of the house. Put all new sod down here. As you can see, we used the red to really make it pop. Tore down a lot of trees. Just cleaned up the area. And obviously it takes work, takes some money, but just really cleaning up this particular area. Now, here's the marketing ad that we used. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but one of the biggest things we talked about was that stovetop is we were going to give $5,000 cash back as an incentive. When you learn about marketing, you need to definitely watch our explosive marketing video that's on our YouTube channel or in REI Pro, and really understand the marketing. But using an incentive here on why you should buy it, we basically said, hey, at the very bottom here in bold, owners are offering $5,000 cash back at closing for appliance upgrades, so you can pick the ones you want. People are very picky with this type of stuff. So we left the broken stovetop and we're giving $5,000 cash back. You could replace the stovetop, the microwave, and the stove if you really wanted to. Or you just go with a really super duper awesome cooktop. Okay, but we were giving them the incentive to want to go and pick their own out. So we used it to our advantage instead of simply just replacing it with something maybe that somebody didn't want. So it's just a little tip there, which probably sounds backwards, but use it to your advantage. And you could do that when you understand the marketing side of it. So here are the final numbers. Purchase price, $382, $15, $500, $397. Obviously some miscellaneous costs in here. We roughly netted about $82,000. You have to ask yourself, how many of these deals do you need to do a year to replace your current income? And that's what I love about pre-foreclosures. Look how many people we helped out in this situation. Look at We use this seller finance strategy, okay, to acquire the property, and then we used a retailing strategy to get rid of it. And understanding the seller finance is one of those strategies that I can tell you right now, it's probably the most complicated strategy to learn. It's very difficult to actually even teach it to you guys, especially in a short period of time. But this is a strategy that's such a niche business. It's such a phenomenal, it's one of the most profitable strategies out there. Not many people really understand the strategy. When you can take that knowledge and apply it and go help other people with it, man, that's pretty powerful. And just think, it's one of those strategies. It's not that you purposely go out and find a seller finance. You just go find a situation that dictates the strategy, not the other way around. Too many people say, hey, I do wholesaling, and all they do is go look for wholesaling stuff. You need to just go find a deal, find out the owner's motivation, their situation, and that ultimately dictates the strategy, or even multiple strategies. That's how you do real estate, not the other way around. Everybody teaches you, you just do this strategy. Here's 30 testimonials, and you should do it too. I want you to be able to have multiple tools in your toolbox. Seller financing is going to be one of those powerful tools, okay? Now, in general, how do we find buyers, right? Where do we get buyers? How do we market buyers? Where did we market this house? I can tell you we marketed this house on Craigslist. You can also market it on the MLS. We could use the realtor. In this case, we didn't. There's a lot of different places out there, but when you're doing creative financing, especially for seller financing or lease options, there's not many ads out there. So you're bringing in a bigger pool of buyers. Think about all the buyers that can't go to the bank and qualify today. We did a $1.2 million house in Houston, bought it for $675, turned around and seller financed it to a doctor that put down 200 grand. Why would he have to do that? It's because he can't go to the bank. You're going to open up a larger pool of buyers just by understanding these creative strategies. Okay, so your goal is to obviously build this. Now, do you have to wait till you find a deal? Technically, yes, but could you start building your buyers list today? Absolutely. I'm going to show you how to run some ads. REI Pro actually will write the ads for you. I'm going to show you how to do that. You can put it out basically in a Craigslist and start building your buyers list from it. Okay, so once you have all the information, of course, you have a property, you could send them the property, and then we're going to go through very specific questions in the software to really qualify this particular buyer. So seller financing, some of the headlines that we like to use, I guess you should say, is easy terms, motivated, no banks is probably a big one, low down. I'm actually going to give you an ad here. Bruise credit okay. This would obviously pertain to people that can't qualify, and that's basically the marketplace we're looking for. So if you have bruise credit because of unfortunate circumstances, it's okay. You can own the home and still reward yourself with all the benefits of home ownership. We currently have several homes available locally that don't require big banks or require your fingerprints. Please call and have your information here. That's where you start building a buyer's list. Now, let's say that you don't have a buyer. What do you say, right? So what I would do is say, I really like to use what I call a dummy property. You could use your own property as an example. But when people call, I'm sorry, that property's already gone, but would it be okay if I asked you a few questions? And when we get something, I can send you the information on. Of course, they say yes. And this is where you're going to go through this series of questions that I'm going to show you how to do in REI Pro. Once we find that buyer, then we would sign a contract with the buyer. Now, if we're doing seller financing with the owner and we're then seller financing it back out, you're just using the same agreements with different terms. But you could seller finance the house and do a lease option. So you'd use a lease option contract. You could seller finance the house and just sell the house to a new buyer. So there's a lot of different directions that we could go into. So not going to go very specific. Basically, if you're seller finance, if you acquire it this way and you do the exact same strategy when you get rid of it, it's going to be the same agreements. And then we go to closing, right? So step 9 is closing. Now, in this particular case with the pre-foreclosure, how do we close it? Well, we closed it with the owner by having paperwork FedExed and signed, and then we filed it down at the recorder's office. We now own it. Then we turned around and fixed up the property, then sold it to a qualified buyer. Then we went to closing again at a title company that actually did and facilitated all the closing. They'll take care of the paperwork, the time, the date. They'll contact the buyer, find out how much money they're going to need. They'll get with the bank to wire the funds in. All those things they're going to take care of, and that's why you have closing cost. Here's just one of my students here. All he does is seller finance. And Ocean here, he actually lives in LA and then only seller finances property in Florida. Okay, so yes, you could do properties and use these strategies long term. I have people that, you know, live in one state and then they're buying investment properties or vacation rentals using this particular strategy. This is a strategy where you could have a potential tired landlord that still loves passive income but doesn't want to deal with the burden of being a landlord. This would be a great strategy for that. Obviously, somebody in pre-foreclosure, this is the strategy that you would use for someone that's in that situation. All right, what I want to show you is how do you get these leads. I'm going to go into REI Pro and show you exactly how we do this. Okay, hold on one second. All right. Now, I know a lot of you already have REI Pro. If you don't, like I said, go to REI Pro, myreipro.com, test it out. You have 30-day free trial. I know this is going to be your new MVP employee. It really does the complete side of it. Plus, we give you all the executable steps and everything. So the first thing we want to do, and I want to explain one piece here, because I've seen some people that are like, hey, Chris, I went to pull up pre-foreclosures and it said there were none here, and I know they are. I'm going to show you why some states are different. Every state's going to report it in a certain way. So we're going to go to Lead Pro here. And then what's going to happen is you're either going to search under pre-foreclosures or auctions. Now, what we label as an auction is a property that's scheduled for auction. So some states require the bank to, when they file the notice of default, that they're taking suit against the owner, that they would have to schedule an auction date, while other states don't. Okay, so depending on what state you're in is going to be dependent on where you find leads here. Some states, you'll find them under both of these tabs. So if I go to just pre-foreclosures here, I'm going to select a state. I'll just pick Florida. And we'll pick, start typing Broward County. And again, you can put multiple counties in here. I then can take cities. I can really just start filtering down a list here. I can remove businesses. I could go to specific zip codes or multiple zip codes. I could look up property types and so forth. I'm just going to keep it general for now, but there's one thing that you have to do, and that's the price. I want you to think about, we really can't work with pre-foreclosures that don't have equity, right? So we don't want to buy a house at full price and put money into it and not be able to make money with it. So I like to go to the loan value percentage and hit 20. One of the things we do at REI Pro is we actually track mortgage amounts. We track the estimated values. We have our own system of doing that. So I only want to target properties that actually have at least 20% equity. When I go to hit search here, you're going to see this particular county with a lot of leads come up. So there's right now 1,621 pre-foreclosures right now. Now, as I scroll down here, I'm going to start to see these particular leads, okay? And we're going to show you the first couple hundred. You could always go in and show up to 1,000. One of the things now, obviously, you're not going to call all these people. There's just too many. And that's where you could use the filters to really filter down. But what I want you to do is actually create a new campaign here. And we'll just call it whatever you want to call it. Then let me select, I'll just select these first 200, and then I'm going to add these to a direct mail. I could then go to this direct mail campaign immediately, and then you'll see it here where you can actually order these particular postcards. We could do a single mailer, we could do 2 mailers, 3 mailers. Sometimes you have to, especially with pre-foreclosures. If I went to a 2 mailer and I want to send it out weekly, okay, I would then hit next. And then what we do is actually give you some recommended postcards, okay, for auction and pre-foreclosure. We have 2 different sets, but keep in mind, they're all still in pre-foreclosure. It's just the ones that are under the auction tab have a deadline, meaning that the auction's coming up. We then move to our general, and then any kind of custom postcards. And then we actually, a lot of you were requesting this, that we just throw every postcard that we actually have in here in case you wanted to choose that. Okay, so let me go back to Lead Pro, and instead of hitting pre-foreclosures in Broward County, Florida, we're gonna hit auctions this time. Okay, so these are people that have property, these are scheduled to go to auction. Again, I wanna go and make sure that we have 20% equity, and then hit search. So in the state of Florida actually reports both, but if you're in Virginia, if you go to the pre-foreclosure tab, it's going to show no results because all of those pre-foreclosures are going to be under auctions. You might be in a state that all of your leads are in pre-foreclosure and there isn't an auction. So as I scroll down, what you're going to see here, and I always like to expand this screen I like it big. All right. I'm going in and I'm seeing potential equity, but see the auction date when it's scheduled for the 16th. So you could see these 2 first properties are actually scheduled today, went to auction. But now I see 621, 621, 622. I would at least allow yourself a week or 2 because obviously you got to mail out something. They need to respond. You need to evaluate the property, run the numbers. It takes, a little bit of time. Then we have to have the attorney draw up the paperwork, and then we can actually take action immediately at that point. So when you do this on say a weekly basis, you're going to get caught up, is my point. Me just going in here right now, as you can see, these auction dates are going to be scattered all the way out. But I mean, look at this property, potential equity 144,000, while this one has 28,000, 52,000, 57,000, 138,000, 135,000, a million, and so forth. So what I want to do is target these particular properties because these people are in trouble. That's a fact. And you have to ask yourself, who helps people like this? That's where you come in. What strategy are you going to use? Seller financing is the strategy. And again, this is one example of where you could use seller financing to generate a lot of income. Now, do you have to do one every month? No, you might do 3 in a year, but each deal netted you 80 grand. Well, are you just relying on one strategy? No, you should be working multiple strategies so you could get multiple offers. So it's another tool in your toolbox. Okay, so hopefully this is where we're going to find the leads, and all you got to do is just order the postcards right through us. We have an in-house printing. We send it out. We do a national change of address automatically for you. There's a lot of things you can start doing right now to make this more of a reality for those of you that are just getting started or looking at stuff. All right, so once I go to a property, I'm just going to pull a property that I have in here, and this is where we have step 1 through 10. So these are the executable steps. So not only is the software going to give you all this valuable information from property details, it gives you mortgage transactional history. We have comparable sales through here as well. All of our comparable sales are not an estimated value. All of our comparable sales come straight from the recorder's office on exactly what it sold for. Now, one thing I want to show you guys, see this lookup? Some states, which are about 12 states, are actually non-disclosure states, meaning they can't publish sold data on a public website. So if you do see, like if you're in the state of Texas, which is one of those states, you're going to see a lot of these lookups. As soon as you click that, we're going to go down and actually pull that particular document. As you can see, it happens very quickly, okay? So this is where we're going to go in and be able to select comps to make sure that, hey, this is a good deal, okay? When we go to step 5, we don't have every single contract for you to fill out because we do work multiple strategies. But again, I want you to use a real estate attorney when you're dealing with seller financing. We give you the ability to upload that so you can store this information that's attached to this particular property. Then we talked about step 6, which is the affidavit. You can download this affidavit. It's very simple to fill out. If you ever forget any of these steps, there's a little instruction box here, and it's going to explain how to do each one of these steps. One of the steps here is finding buyers, and this is a really cool thing that we do in REI Pro. So one of the things we start with is what type of buyer you're looking for: an investor, a lease option buyer, qualified buyer, or a seller finance buyer. If I click on, hey, I want to build my seller finance buyers up, or you could use any of these properties to build this ad. What we do here is we have an ad builder, and you could choose one of our selected headlines, or you could go in and just type in whatever you want. Starter home, seller finance starter home. Okay, so to keep it simple, just we'll say lovely starter home. There you go. What property type? We'll say this single family. Again, sometimes the tax assessor doesn't disclose the bedrooms and baths. If it doesn't, you could just type that in there. We're going to go ahead and choose some features. We'll say plush carpet, granite countertops, updated appliances, and a fenced-in backyard. Again, you could always type in here whatever you want. So we're going to type in the location here, and then benefits. Go in and select one of these or 3 of these benefits here, or go in and type your own. Now, once you're done filling this out, all you have to do is hit save and print. And what's going to happen is it's going to actually create the ad for you. So we pull this particular ad up. It's going to say seller finance lovely starter home. Enjoy life in this 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home, conveniently located in Hollywood. So here we have an ad. Now, what can we do with this ad? What we're going to do with this ad is actually copy paste it in a Craigslist. You could build a flyer out of this. You have now an ad, especially for those of you that have maybe a hard time writing an ad. This is going to work. One of my students in Minnesota went here, wanted to build his lease option buyers. So he just wrote a basic ad in here just as fast as you saw me do it. He had 39 buyers, okay? It's just got to get the information out there. Let people know what you do. Now, if I have a very specific property like this that I am seller financing, again, you could do that. But you could also use this ad builder for just general purposes. Now, if I were actually selling this particular property, I'd build the ad, and then I would then click the potential buyers, and I can filter my buyers by seller finance, which I don't think I have any in here, and actually email them. So let me show you how to do that. So let's say these are all my seller finance buyers. I would hit select all. I would then hit email, select it, and it's going to actually blast an email to let all of my buyers know about this particular property. Step 8 is going to be similar to step 5. Again, we're going to be doing a contract with the buyer. And step 9 is closing, which of course there are 1,000 title company attorneys in every area. We're just going to give you a shortcut. And then, of course, payday is a place that we like for you to upload your deal. Upload, this is, I always wish that I could go back, and I carried like paycheck stubs and pictures, and throughout the last, 16, 17 years, it got misplaced with the moves and so forth. So it's a great place to store the information. You can always go back to that as well. So I think we covered it. Whew. Thank goodness. I know we're running short on time. What we're going to do is, those of you that have questions, email us at contact@myreipro. Again, contact us at myreipro. Those of you that have questions, we'll be happy to answer those through an email. Not a problem, because I know we're running out of time here, but really do appreciate you guys being here. I hope you learned a lot. It's a lot of information to take in. This is why we're going to get this video. It is recorded. We're going to upload this into REI Pro. For those of you that are subscribers, if you just click the education area here, we're going to have it in here, and you could go back. As you can see, seller finance part 1 of 2. You would just click on that and the video will play. And encourage you guys to go back several times on these videos, because you're going to pick up something that you didn't before. And that's really the key. It's repetition of the teaching. It's really understanding. So using REI Pro, using the knowledge that we're teaching you, you're going to be able to execute this business. And I want you to do it better than everyone else, period. Okay, so again, appreciate you guys being here. Any questions, don't hesitate. Shoot us an email. Be happy to answer them. Contact us at My REI Pro. And if you're not a subscriber of REI Pro, obviously you need to get registered. 30 days free trial. You can pull unlimited leads. We do not cap you out. Everything is unlocked, and start exploring it. And you're going to find out very quickly how powerful this tool is going to be for your business. So anyways, have a great night. Have a great week and weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next training session.